Good morning, Ms. Jones. Good morning, Ms. Buckner. Today I will be presenting my history POL and my English POL. First, I will start off with my history POL. My thesis statement is I will start with essential skill 2 on the revolutions, and I will be comparing and contrasting the French Revolution and the American Revolution. The French Revolution and the American Revolution are alike because they both had to overthrow their ruler because of bad leadership, heavy taxes, and violation of natural rights. They also had to do that because of unequal treatment to the people. They're different because the Americans had a more tyrant-like ruler, and he had a lot of control over people and didn't let them speak their word. And the French had a young and uninterested ruler. He didn't feel interested in being a king or a ruler. My evidence for that is King Louis XVI was a very young leader, and he was not interested in being a king. He was more of an adventurous, and he liked doing more fascinating things instead of just ruling a whole bunch of people. The King of England, he was a tyrant, and he violated people's rights, and he didn't let the people have freedom of speech, and he didn't care about anybody except himself. My second evidence for that is that King Louis the 16th and the King of England are alike for many things because they were both overthrown and they had weak and bad leadership, and because they heavy taxed people, they violated people's rights, and they didn't let people have freedom.
Why was King Louis the 16th seen as being a bad leader?
First he was uninterested in doing that, and plus he wasn't really sure what he was doing, so he didn't really he wasn't ready to be a big leader.
And why were both the French and Americans heavily taxed?
The Americans taxed because of, I think it was the Intolerable Acts, and the French were taxed because when King Louis had I can't answer the question. I will be analyzing Guy Montag. Guy Montag is the protagonist of Fahrenheit 451. He was dealing with the inner conflict with himself, which he appeared to lack the capability to independently think and to control his own actions, and he had a deep desire and passion for books and rebellion. My first evidence and justification for that was a quote from the book. So it was the hand that started it all. His hands had been infected, and soon it would be his arms. His hands were ravenous. The quote is significant because Guy Montag, when he stole the books from the old man's house, he blames his hands. It technically wasn't his mindset of doing that. He had in his character analyzation, he has no control, so it is his hands that is technically doing the job in his mind. For my second piece of evidence for that, behind each of these books there's a man that's this quote shows that Montag is not interested in the story, but the physical book and everything behind it, such as the author, his fascination with books is unusual yet complex. So because he burns down books, that's not his intention. He would rather like to read books and read books that are fascinating to him. And there are reasons for that too. Maybe the books can get us and get a tap out of the cake. They just might stop us from making the same mistakes. It shows that Monte not only relies on his hands because he did the opposite of what he wants to do. He relies on the books that he can use through from books that he already read, and he can stop what his hands moving at angles and really complicated books. Listen. His fascination with books, well, the quote says that he relies on the books. It's explained that he relies on the books. So, if you compare his fascination into relying on the books, it kind of is like the books is not only the books he doesn't just use just for reading. He also uses them as tools to help him with other things. My sentence for the DBQ is the trustees congratulated him for his speech at the end of the meeting and promised their support. They're broken up into one independent clause and one dependent clause. For the whole entire sentence, it's separated through phrases. Throughout all the words, we break them down and see what parts of speech there are. So, the is an adjective, trustees is a noun, congratulated is a verb, him is a noun, for is a verb, his is an adjective, speech is a noun, at is a preposition, the is an adjective, and is an adjective, of is a preposition, the is an adjective, meeting is a noun, and is a conjunction, promise is a verb, and there is an adjective and noun, and support is a noun. At the start, for the trustees, I took that down into a noun phrase, and congratulated him, I put that into a verb phrase, and that became an independent clause. For his speech at the end of the meeting, that became an adjective phrase, and the conjunction I just brought down. Promised their support had been brought down into a verb phrase, and those all became a dependent clause, and that made this sentence. The trustees congratulated him for his speech at the end of the meeting and promised their support.
It's a long sentence. What's missing?
Maybe a comma.
Maybe.
A comma after meaning and before it.
Put one there. Take a look at the word at. We have like a preposition. What is at?
Where? The trustees congratulated him for his speech at the end of the meeting and promised their support.
So what's that coming
At think it is where the meeting where it's getting close to the end. So at probably would be an adjective.
No. What's the salary or explain again?
At is describing the end of the meeting.
It's describing the end of the meeting.
It should be.
Yeah, it is, but that's not where. Or I said at the end of class when I describing where,
No.
when I describe
When.
when. So when is what part of speech?
When is adverb.
After. So that makes at the end of the meeting what phrase?
An adverb phrase.
Adverb phrase. Where's the other comma go?
After speech.
Yes. So,
Okay.
where do we begin?
For the DBQ, I got a picture of the first estate and the second estate, and they are standing on taxes that are being weighed down by the third estate. This picture, the first estate and the second estate are the wealthiest of all the estates, and the third estate happens to be the poor people. And the first and second estate, they don't get taxed, and all the taxes are weighed on the poor third estate. And the cartoonist is saying that the first estate and the second estate, the first and second estate have a bad relationship with the third estate, and the first and second estate happen to weigh all the taxes that they don't pay onto the third estate. And with the third estate having to pay all these taxes, it just keeps them from losing money than they don't. With paying the taxes, they just lose more money instead of getting richer or becoming more wealthy like the first and second estate. The cartoonist is saying that the first and second estate have a bad relationship with the third estate.
Okay, and then your evidence?
The first and second estate weigh down on the third estate and make them pay heavy taxes. It says that the wealthy people, which happen to be the first and second estate, do not have to pay taxes. That all the taxes are supposed to be paid by the third estate.
Was that one sentence?
I don't know those two.
Two. Do you think you can make that more concise into one sentence?
Maybe.
Maybe. For your evidence, especially when it's a cartoon, what are you doing?
Describing the picture.
So can you describe the picture to me in one concise sentence?
The first and second estate stand on the taxes that are crushing the third estate, and it just makes the third estate more poor instead of getting them out of poverty.
Before you said it makes the third estate more poor, because then you're analyzing your evidence. Okay? So how do we know that that sentence is providing evidence? Do I know what you're talking about, picture?
No, I can say relating back to the picture that the first and second estate are weighing down heavy taxes on the third estate.
Okay, that's better. And then in your thesis, you said have a bad relationship. So it's maybe a little bit more academic way of saying bad relationship.
Unhealthy.
Okay, that's better. And then go ahead and do your analysis.
The third estate are the poor people, and with the third estate paying all the heavy taxes, it just makes them more poor, and the second and first estate get richer.
Okay, you're on the right track for analysis, but that way to look at like under the surface, the deeper meaning. So if we look at the deeper meaning of this, why do you think they want the third estate paying taxes?
they're not as wealthy as the first and second estate.
Okay, and basically that would then lead to what?
More money for the first and second estate.
Okay,